Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you in another video. All right, so my speculation at the end when I said the Lakers would probably want Curry, Seth Curry, that is, not Steph, of course. Of course, we do want Steph Curry, but that's not realistic in any way, shape, or form. But we're talking about Seth Curry in regards to the Kyrie Irving Westbrook potential swap taking place. The Lakers want Curry. They don't want Harris. I figured that the Nets would likely not want us to take Harris. I mean, Curry, they would want us to take Harris because Harris has the bad contract and Curry's the fantastic player. Well, they're both pretty fantastic shooters. Of course, Harris has won 2 3-point contests, so don't get it twisted. I respect Harris' shooting and Curry's shooting. And me personally, I would be happy with either one of them if they're both 100% healthy. Keep it real with you. I don't really have a preference if Harris were healthy. So since Harris hasn't been healthy, obviously I would prefer Curry. But that's how I'm looking at it. I don't look at either one of them as better or worse than one another, to be honest. They're both excellent, elite 3-point shooters. But all in all, I think for what we're trying to do, of course, we want the healthier player. We have the cap issues as well. So I'm not sure what Curry's contract is, but at least we know it's attached to a healthier shooter. So that's how I am looking at it, but I don't think that should hold up the trade, to be honest with you. If they want to send us Harris and refuse Curry, I don't think it should keep us from doing this thing. I really don't. But I definitely understand why the Lakers don't want Harris. I certainly think we should try to keep from having to take that back. But don't let it become a situation where you pick a third guy because you don't want to take Harris and they won't throw in Curry. We need shooting. Take back Harris. Is what I would say. Don't let that situation keep you from taking back an elite shooter. If he happens to be crippled and has a bum leg, that sucks for us. But depending on what we're giving up as well, because see, it depends on what we're giving up as well. We don't know on this end, but depending on what we're giving up as well, I would not be so quick to let that keep me from making the trade. Not at all. But if Rob Pelinka can somehow do the impossible in my mind and snag Seth Curry from the Nets, that would be a super win. And by the way, I'm listening to a lot of people say the Lakers got to fail for the offseason. I disagree. If you want to say it's incomplete, that's fine. But what it is incomplete. What I see is a team that has defensive wing players and lengthy role-playing centers. Young guys who can play defense and score. A bit of athleticism with our youth and defensive emphasis with the wing position. What we need is shooting. So once we get the shooting in place and let that be a superstar scorer like Kyrie Irving in place of the inefficient Russell Westbrook, suddenly the roster looks a lot better once you start adding the shooting to that. So assume if we add, like, for example, Seth Curry or Joe Harris, we look a lot better as a team, especially when you consider how we may be able to work Cole Swider into the mix, because he looks like he's going to be an elite shooter right out the gate. So hopefully we can find a way to work him into our rotation by the end of the season if for some reason we cannot get it shooting. But all in all, I think we should just be patient with the roster. What I also see with the roster is guys who are young enough to be traded at the deadline for other stuff. So I'm not worried about the talent level of the players that we have because they are interchangeable. That's what people need to understand. See, the problem the Lakers had last year was not the fact that the guys weren't talented. It was that they weren't tradable because they were over the hump. They were old, so those were dead assets, as I call them. Players that you acquire them for a certain amount, but you can't get rid of them for really anything. I don't think we have dead assets. I don't think that. We may have low value assets. Some of the guys may not be worth a lot, but they're young, they're serviceable, and they're going to fill a roster spot. So with that, we can move them. You know what I mean? As long as they're not too old to move. That's the bottom line. If Rob Pelinka can couple 5 or 6 of those guys together, with the 29 pick, he could probably get back something pretty solid. You see what I'm saying? Because that's kind of how trades are being done these days. You consider what Utah gave up in terms of, or rather got back in terms of player talent. Nah. Or you look at some of the trades that have been going around, some of the Pacer moves, the players that they've been giving up. These guys aren't of cachet. That's not their value to the league. Their value to the league is the maneuverability of their contract based on the amount of money that they make and the years attached to it. They're just easy to slot around. So that's what Rob got us. A bunch of guys that are easy to slot around. He could trade Troy Brown. Those guys are easy to move and plug and play. If they have to sit, no problem, because they're ready for that. That's their role in the league at this point. So I don't see trash on our bench. They may not be the most talented players, but I can couple a couple of those guys together and get back talented players. So we may not be as deep doing so, but if you do it enough times and then you find enough players off the G League who can actually play, you find yourself with a really deep team. So that's how you do it, man. Damian Jones going to help us. Keep finding these Austin Reeves. Keep finding these Christies. Keep finding these Swiders. You look up and you have plenty without any draft picks. And that's how you find your draft picks. You trade those guys for 2 second-rounders, get those guys, turn them into players, trade them for first-rounders. And that's how you build your way up. So, no, we're doing fine. We're doing just fine. I'm not worried about the talent level. Like I said, this ain't a championship year, in my opinion, anyway, unless we happen to just overachieve with our triple threat that we're about to put together. But I don't know that we're a champion, but I don't think this is a one-year experiment either. I think we're putting something together that we hope LeBron will believe in. And then from there, he'll sign an extension. We keep this thing going. And if we build from there, these guys start getting a year older, start getting a couple more of those guys going, we'll have a good enough team to compete for a championship for sure. But I don't expect us to do it this year, no matter what we put together. It's just too soon for some of the guys that we have in prominent roles. But they get a year older, maybe get their heart broken in the playoffs, and we can start talking about something for real, in my humble opinion. I know the Stars ain't trying to hear that because they're going after it. But I think I'm a little more realistic as a fan just to say those role players are going to need a year or two in the playoffs to get their minds right. But if we can keep that core together, eventually we'll get it. I think we'll get it. So that's the goal. That's how I'm looking at it. 2 or 3 years. That's why hopefully we can pull out of this trio and see what happens here. Obviously, we await the deal. And if we're able to land Seth Curry, that's a huge acquisition. But I personally don't believe that's going to happen. I think the Nets would be absolutely insane to add him to a deal getting rid of Kyrie. Personally, I think it's crazy. But it depends on what else is coming their way. So we'll see. My name is BDL44. I thank y'all for watching.